What's up, guys? It's your boy Zwokey, back out with some more of the Chris Watts videos. And this one is information and audio that was redacted, or this was the redacted, and I want to know what was on that tape. What was on that audio? What was in that information that had to be removed for some reason? And we're going to watch it now with the help of Crazy Crime Chick. If you guys have not gone over to her channel, I suggest you guys highly go over there, give her some love, subscribe, comment, like, and share. You know the deal. But make sure on my channel that you are subscribing, commenting, liking, and sharing. I get to as many comments as I can. So for those that keep putting in the comments, oh, Zwokey never writes back or doesn't, I can't get to everybody. Okay? Just calm down. I will get to as many as I could possibly comment back, like, heart, and so forth and so on. But again, I thank you guys all that have done so thus far. We're trying to get to 100K. We're going to be doing a huge giveaway at 75,000 subscribers. Another Oculus VR headset will be given away at 75,000. So tell your friends, tell your family, or anybody you guys know. And without further ado, let's get into the Nichol Kessinger redacted audio that is a must to watch. There's the copyright. There it goes. Oh, that woman pisses me off too. She's not here anymore. Agent Kevin Kobach interviewed Nichol Kessinger at Thornton PD. Nichole's father, Dwayne Kessinger, was also present for this interview. But what did they take out? Let's review Nichol Kessinger's Verizon bill and see who she was calling prior to the interview.
We're going to look at her Verizon bill for the billing period August 14th through September 13th. This bill is still in the discovery. So if you want to go back and look at this for yourself, I believe it's on page 998.
900, but I have the one that was redacted. I don't have the one that was not redacted. So, and this sheet, I have not seen. 14th. Man, she calls a lot. I call like once or twice a day, if that.
But for August 14th and through August 16th, she pretty much only speaks with Chris, obviously, on the 14th. And then she speaks with the FBI agent and CBI agent.
She's probably calling mom and dad. Please help me. I'm in a lot of bad trouble.
Agent and her mom and dad. She has some random phone calls in between, maybe one or two of other people, but majority of the phone calls, as you guys are going to see, or you could see, is her dad. I think it's really interesting that every time she spoke with either the FBI agent, she called her dad right away, or if they called her, if the FBI agent called her, she called her dad right back. Or when she spoke with Kobach, she called her dad. Or if Kobach called her, she called her dad.
She's asking for advice. She's asking for, how do I out-talk myself on this? But I feel that it's very weird that she calls at the weirdest hours. Like, she called one of the guys, or the Kevin Kobach, at like, what was it, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning one time? I'm trying to see if this is the one that she does. Nope. Mark. Between Mark and Kevin is who she's talking to. Nope, maybe this is not the page.
It was every time she spoke with anybody from law enforcement, she made sure her dad was aware of what that conversation was. And some can say, oh, well, because maybe she's just, obviously getting the support from her dad. I do understand that, but I just think it's interesting based off what we're going to listen to in the audio in a little bit. On August 15th, 2018, the mistress contacted Frederick PD to come forward and let them know that she was the mistress. And people have
But not her own volition. She came forward because she wanted to better her name, is why.
said that she came forward on her own free will and that she was trying to help law enforcement out. But keep in mind that law enforcement already knew about the mistress from Tony Hess.
Yeah, they already knew about her because of Anadarko sending the emails. But how the thing that bothers me is, how did that guy that found the emails know about the emails? Did they just pop up like red flags kind of thing where they're like, oh, this is not right for the workplace? Or did the person that Nichol was with, that was a higher up CEO, again, all alleged that she was possibly messing with some CEO higher up in Anadarko? He got wind of it, brought the emails forward. It's just theories. Again, we can't say that's fact, but
Esky, who was the regional security manager for Anadarko, he had called them and let them know that he had came across these emails between the mistress and Chris, and that he believes.
It should be noted that approximately 3 hours before the polygraph was scheduled to begin at 8 a.m., which Chris had tons of sleep, unless he didn't, or he went home, was able to sleep, messed with stuff around the house. We all saw it. I received a phone call from Anadarko's regional security manager, Tony Husky. Husky advised he had reviewed Chris's computer network traffic, and it was possible Chris had started a relationship with a Anadarko contract employee. But how did Tony know this? That's the thing, is why did this guy know this? Husky advised he located emails between Chris and the contracted employee, who he identified as Nichol Kessinger, or Nikki as they call her. Husky said it appeared a relationship between Chris and Kessinger started around June. The emails showed June. Doesn't mean that's when they met. Husky further explained Kessinger was on the geoscience side of the company and helped survey land. Husky explained Chris and Kessinger worked out of the same office in Platteville, Colorado. Husky advised he would be forwarding the emails to law enforcement as soon as it was cleared by their legal department. The emails received by Husky are attached to this report. Well, Tony Husky, if you are still around, I would love to talk to you and find out some more information about these emails and how you obtained them, how you found them out, and stuff like that. And I'll even pay you for the interview. So, let's continue.
There was possibly an affair going on between the two. He called law enforcement at, I think it was 8 a.m. in the morning. So
I wonder if Tony Husky had anything to do with Nichol. I don't know, but
law enforcement knew of her prior to her even contacting them. And keep in mind, the night before, on August 14th, Chris interviewed with Agent Coder. And he didn't leave that interview until, I believe it was like at 11 at night. He did spend the night at his friend's. And he contacted the mistress at 12 a.m. that night. And he speaks with her back to back to back to back. And are we to believe that he did not tell the mistress what was going on at all during that interview? Also, Chris knew the following morning he was going to go at 11 o'clock to do a polygraph test. So I'm going to assume he told the mistress this. And I think that's why the mistress was so scared that night and panicking, because she knew he was going to go do a polygraph test. She didn't know what questions they were going to ask.
This girl's right on it. This is what I thought too.
That's why I think the mistress came forward and contacted law enforcement, was only because she knew Chris was going to do that polygraph and they were going to find out about her. Her last phone call to Chris was at 2:07 a.m. That's the last communication between the two per the mistress interviews. We don't know if there was text messages after that, if they were recovered, if they weren't, who knows. At 6:50 a.m., she gets an incoming call from her mom and speaks with her for 1 minute. She's at work at this time. At 12:53 p.m., she calls her mom and speaks with her for only 2 minutes.
I was going to say too, she doesn't speak to Jim very much until Chris is gone. Like when Chris gets arrested and so forth, is that when he starts talking to her a lot more, or talking to him. So it's just interesting that like right here, Jim was just 3 minutes. There's a couple ones that are like 1-2 minutes. But then after Chris is gone, she talks to him religiously.
At 2:20 p.m., she calls her friend Jim and she speaks with him for 3 minutes. So this is the last phone calls for August 14th that we have for the mistress per her bill. Then we go on to August 15th. August 15th at 5:41 a.m., she calls her dad and she speaks with him for 2 minutes. At 6:10 a.m., she gets an incoming call and she speaks with her mom for 23 minutes. At 7:11 a.m., she calls her dad and she speaks with him for 1 minute. So
Well, this one down here on August 16th, 6:41 a.m., she's talking to him for 52 minutes. Hi.
can only assume that she's letting her parents know she's going to contact Frederick PD and let them know what is going on, because she calls Frederick Police Station at 9:49 a.m. and she speaks with someone for 3 minutes. At 9:52 a.m., she calls the police station again and speaks to them for 1 minute. At 11:38 a.m., she calls them again and speaks to someone for 6 minutes. And then at 12:38 p.m., she gets a phone call, and this is from the FBI agent Mark, and she speaks with him for 6 minutes. As soon as she's done talking to Mark, she gets an incoming call from her dad and speaks to them for 1 minute. If we look at the phone call at 9:49 a.m. and that call lasted 3 minutes and then she calls them back and speaks with them for 1 minute, I think possibly right here she's probably calling them and just trying to get information out about the case, because then at 11:38 a.m. she calls them back and she does speak with someone for 6 minutes. And at 12:38 p.m. when they call her back, that's the FBI agent Mark that calls her back. So that first 6-minute phone call where she does call them, I think that's where she's just telling them about who she is and what her relation is between her and Chris, and that's why the FBI ends up calling her. I'm sure there's text messages in between these phone calls or right after these phone calls between Nichol and her dad, or even her and her mom, because it's just as soon as she's done talking to one of the agents, her dad will end up calling her, and it's kind of like, how do you know she's done with this phone call? So like I said, after she speaks with the FBI agent, she does get an incoming call from her dad. And then
But what I want to see too is we see her talk activity, but what about her text message history? You can't tell me that she's not texting Jim and she's not texting her mom or her dad besides calling. Like, she's probably doing both. You can't tell me that she's not.
at 1:57 p.m., she gets an incoming call from the FBI agent and speaks with him for 1 minute. At 1:58 p.m., she gets another phone call back from the agent and she speaks with him for another minute. And then at 1:58 p.m. again, so back to back, she calls him and speaks with him for 2 minutes. Then at 2,
Like all this right here, this Mark FBI agent, 158, 2 minutes, or 2 o'clock. At 3:43 for a minute, 3:44 for a minute, 3:45 for 2 minutes. Like, why is she calling these FBI agents so much? Probably leaving voicemails and what have you, but this is a lot of calling for somebody that is not involved.
2 p.m., she calls the agent back again and speaks with him for 1 minute. And then at 3:43 p.m., she calls the agent again and speaks with him for 1 minute. At 3:44 p.m., she calls that agent again and speaks with him for another minute. And then at 3:45 p.m., she gets an incoming call this time from the agent and she speaks with him for 2 minutes. So it's kind of interesting. It's these little nuggets of phone calls, 1 minute here, 1 minute there, and it's like back to back in a way. And we do know that some of these phone calls are about the FBI agent meeting up with the mistress, because she does her first park interview on August 15th at,
which is probably one of the worst phone calls I've ever heard,
5:36 p.m. There's something else I want to show you guys. She meets up with the FBI agents at the park at 5:36 p.m. She does get an incoming call from her dad at 5:37 p.m. So I'm guessing that her dad is probably calling her saying, hey, I'm at the park, where are you guys? Because we know he was there with her at that interview. But since her dad met her there based off of that phone call, I'm wondering, did she drive her truck? At 7 p.m., she calls her mom and speaks with...
No, I don't think she drove her truck, because I think she had the dog with a leash on there, so she probably walked there maybe. I mean, she probably could have done it the other way too, but in a car.
her for 1 minute. Then at 8:35 p.m., she calls her and speaks with her for an additional 17 minutes. By the time she took her park interview at 5:35, was it? Chris at 4 p.m. had gotten the results of his polygraph, which they said he failed. By 4:15 p.m., investigators already sent out the drone and they had spotted the bedsheet at the battery site. Also, on August 15th, the news media was already reporting that Chris was charged with murdering his family. The earliest I can find was 7:25 p.m. So when we look at the 8:35 p.m. on August 15th, when she calls her mom for 17 minutes, I'm going to assume that she's possibly already seeing the news media and she's, talking to her mom about that. Now we're moving on to August 16th. At 4:30 a.m., she calls her dad and she speaks with him for 5 minutes. So she calls him, looks like first thing in the morning. If she even got any sleep, I highly doubt it. At 4:46 a.m., she gets an incoming call from her mom. At 6:41 a.m., she calls her dad and she gets an incoming call, and she speaks with him for 52 minutes. That's a really long phone call right there.
Mm-hmm.
At 7:40 a.m., she calls her mom and speaks with her for 1 minute. At 7:55 a.m., she gets an incoming call from her mom and she speaks with her for 7 minutes. Now, 8:56 a.m., she gets an incoming call from her dad and she speaks with him for 35 minutes. At 9:30 a.m., she gets an incoming call, this time from the agent, the FBI agent, Mark, and she speaks with him for 41 minutes. Now, is it possible that the agent is informing her Chris has been arrested, he confessed to killing his wife? And it's possible that this is where he's informing her that now they need to do a second interview with her at the station. So after she has this 41-minute conversation with the FBI agent, she calls her dad at 10:11 a.m. and she speaks with him for 40 minutes. Then at 12:32 p.m., she calls her dad back and she speaks with him for an additional 13 minutes. So you guys can see the duration of minutes between her and her dad have increased dramatically. They went from 1 minute, 2 minutes, 6 minutes to now being 52 minutes, 35 minutes, 40 minutes. So now at 1:01 p.m., she calls the FBI agent and she speaks with him for 12 minutes. As soon as she's done speaking with the agent, she calls her dad at 1:12 p.m. and she speaks with him for 1 minute. Then we have at 1:28 p.m., this is the first phone call between Nichol Kessinger and agent Kevin Kobach. He calls her and they speak for 9 minutes. After she speaks with agent Kobach, she calls her dad at
20 minutes later.
1:46 p.m. and she talks to him for 1 minute. At 1:53 p.m., agent Kobach calls her back and they speak for 2 minutes. Then at 2:02 p.m., she gets an incoming call from her dad and she speaks to him for 14 minutes. At 2:16 p.m., she calls agent Kobach and she speaks with him for 1 minute. At 3:07 p.m., she gets an incoming call from someone named Kaylee. I'm not sure if this is her friend or a coworker, but she speaks to this person for 17 minutes. At 3:50 p.m., she calls agent Kobach and speaks with him for 3 minutes. And then at 3:58 p.m., she gets an incoming call from her dad and speaks to him for 3 minutes. At 4:02 p.m., she gets an incoming call from a tailor, and again, that can be a friend or a coworker. At 4:10 p.m., she gets an incoming call from her dad and she speaks with him for 3 minutes. At 4:12 p.m., she gets an incoming call from agent Kobach and she speaks with him for 1 minute. After she hangs up with him, she calls her dad at 4:13 p.m. and she speaks with him for 1 minute. At 4:30 p.m., she calls her dad again and speaks.
Is this a lot of phone calls? Like I'm pretty decent on calling my parents here and there. I would say I call them at least once or twice a day. Well, maybe once. I probably should call them more. But I see them; they're in the same town that I'm in. So, but I just don't feel that you would be calling them this much unless you're trying to do things like damage control and get things looked at so that you can build up some type of alibi or excuse of why you were there and so forth. So I don't know. Let me know if you think this is too many phone calls.
With him for an additional 1 minute. Those are the only phone calls we have for the 16th on her bill. And unfortunately, you guys, I couldn't find the time that the mistress did her interview with agent Kobach on August 16th. I went through the transcripts for that date and all we have is the date but no time. I listened to the audio and it doesn't give, agent Kobach doesn't say a time. And then I also, in the discovery for that interview, it also doesn't give a time. So I'm going to guess that this interview must have happened after 4:30 p.m. because she doesn't have any other phone calls after that.
Because she was only in there for I think they started the interview at like around I think it was like 5 or 6, and then went for 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Also, something else I thought was important was on August 7th, just a few days before the murders, at 4:33 p.m., the mistress calls North Glen
That is interesting on the 7th.
police station. That phone call was only 1 minute, but she did call somebody at the station, and I'm just
Did she call and leave a message? Like a voicemail?
wondering, did she know someone there? Was she asking questions? It's just kind of odd that a few days prior to the murder, she's calling someone. And at first I thought, if she knows somebody there, why wouldn't she just call them on their personal cell phone? I mean, I have friends who work in the law enforcement, and I don't think I've ever called them at the station. I've always just reached out either their cell phone, home phone number, and social media. So now you know who she was talking to prior to going into this interview with Agent Kobach on August 16th. And I thought it was important to show how much her dad was in contact with her. And how much contact she had with Agent Kobach prior to walking into that police station and doing that interview. And also, we don't have any records of what these phone calls between her and Kobach were even about, because in the discovery, I don't see any reports of any of these phone calls. Again, if you know or have seen these reports and you can give me a
17th of August, Hazel Brook Sober Living Center. I wonder if it's still in existence. Let me see here. Brook. They probably can't like disclose information that's obviously private and so forth, but let's see. Hazelbrook Sober Living is a mission to fight addiction, offering sober living homes for both men and women in the Denver Metro, Colorado Springs, and Pueblo areas. So she had an addiction to something. So the average day, drugs reported on a few days or different types of sober living. Holmes found that the average stay at this facility was 166 to 254 days. Hoy.
A discovery page, please comment below, but I personally have not seen it. So now we're going to go ahead and listen to the interview for August 16th. I'm not going to play the whole interview, only pieces of where her dad is involved. One of them is a redacted video that is courtesy of Plunder. So now let's take a listen.
We introduced ourselves in the lobby earlier, so we're just going to do that again real quick. My name is Kevin Kobach. I'm with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and we're assisting the Frederick Police Department with this case involving Chris Watts. And this is Tim Martinez, also an agent at CBI. Sir, if you just introduce yourself.
Dwayne Kessinger. I'm Nicole's father.
Dwayne, what's your birthday?
And this part has been redacted because it's personal information.
Yeah.
What city?
That's Arvada, 8004.
And a cell phone or a home phone or where? And Nicole, can you just introduce yourself for the recording?
Nichol Kessinger. Tuning on the other side.
Yes, please.
I live it.
She seems really bothered that she even has to be here. She plays the victim role to the T.
You determined it was North Glen, right?
Yes.
Do you know your zip code?
80249.
Okay. Can you speak up?
She sounds like one of those like snooty, like, I gotta be here. Oh my gosh.
Just a little bit so the recorder, I know you're tired and you're stressed, and we won't be here.
Just a thing on the courtesy for the phone for, what was that guy's name, Don?
This gentleman?
Oh.
Third PD. I just met him today. Do you want to do the phone?
I forgot about that.
For TPD.
It's not for them. They're doing it for us.
Yes.
We don't have the equipment with us to do it, and I asked them to do it for us. They're not involved in this investigation. He would just be a computer person. He would not be looking at any of this stuff. That would fall to myself. So keep that in mind. He's not involved in this investigation. Thornton PD has nothing to do with this. other than letting us use their facility and helping us with some electronic download. He's not going to look at your phone right now. He's going to put it on a disc and they're going to give it to me.
Gotcha. I don't know. What do you think? I really want to help you guys. I do. I feel like this whole thing is just going to be crazy regardless of whether I give you my...
Did you guys hear what she tells her dad? She says, what do you think? Meaning, do you think I should give them my phone? Let's listen to that part again and listen how she whispers that to her dad.
He's going to put it on a disc and they're going to give it to me.
Gotcha. I don't know. What do you think? I really want to help you guys. I do. Help you guys. I do. I feel like this whole thing is just going to be crazy regardless of whether I give you my phone or not. I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. Like, it's happening. It's going to happen.
Well, the text
Maybe it's
reiterate
just
what
gonna-
you've been saying all along, so it's not like...
Well, they do. That's the other thing, too. I mean, that's kind of a good backup. Yeah, I'll give
I
it
think
to him.
you hit the nail right on the head. There's
I actually love how the dad jumps in right there and pretty much says that her text messages are going to be proof of what she's saying all along. Because you got to remember, her dad is believing whatever she's told him prior to going to this interview.
Again, I don't think she's told him everything.
And then the mistress, yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll give it to you. But I believe she doesn't want to hand over her phone because those text messages are going to be complete opposite of what she is saying. This next part of the interview, for me, is so uncomfortable to listen to because... I'm just going to say it. Nicole's dad, Dwayne, totally checks Agent Kobach's beep. And Agent Kobach just pretty much drops the questioning and he just moves on to the next subject. Watch. Let's take a listen.
and that was the final take on that.
Yes, I know he lied to me. He lied to me because if I'd have known that he had a child on the way, I'd have never wasted my time with him in the first place. Like, none of this would ever even occur if he would have just told me the truth.
So do you think if he found out that you, if, let's say this week you guys were to look at some apartments, and this is hypothetical, but you've never found out that his wife was pregnant.
Spit it out.
Would that have changed anything? Like you just said, if I knew his wife was pregnant, I wouldn't be in this picture. So if his wife was not pregnant,
Wait, don't lead.
and forgive me, but if he takes her out of the picture, you're never going to know that she was pregnant, right?
What do you mean takes her out of the picture? Like,
If he murdered her, she's out of the picture. You're never going to know if she was pregnant. If he can get away with murder, you're not going to... I got divorced from my wife. Do you understand what I'm saying here? If she's gone,
but this...
Don't lead,
hypothetically,
please. Don't lead on.
hypothetically, if she...
Okay.
See, this agent's trying to fight and trying to see how far he can push it. And then Dwayne comes right in and checks it.
You understand where I'm going? If
Right,
you
but
didn't know...
you're leading into questions that are nothing with your...
If you didn't know, though,
Wait, Nick,
that she was there...
did you hear what I said?
I'm following you. I just want her to answer a question that relates to... She said something that's important, that if he didn't have a child on the way, or if she didn't know that,
Spit it out, man.
she would have continued the relationship, right?
But he killed his kids. At what point does he think that I'm going to be in a relationship?
I'm not talking about the children. I'm just talking specifically about her. If you only knew, if the kids were still here, and he called you and said, "I'm divorced from my wife," and he gets away with this, do you understand what I'm thinking from his aspect?
No,
I
we
still
don't.
wouldn't do it. I still wouldn't do it because I'd be like, where'd she go?
Okay.
Because I'm under the impression that she's a really good mom. Like, he never bashed her momming skills. Like, no.
That's a contradiction because she ends up saying it later on that he would talk here and there, like, annoyingly about her.
No, I would, no.
Okay.
No.
And that, you see where I'm trying to take that?
Yes.
So you guys never had a conversation about the child, period.
I didn't know at all.
And by your words, if you did know, you would have ended the relationship.
Well, because it wouldn't have made sense to me that he's like, I'm getting separated. Oh, by the way, I have a baby on the way. It's like, you are a liar. You're just trying to sleep with me. That's what I would have probably interpreted.
Girl, you're just trying to sleep with me. You enjoyed it. You literally told Charlotte it's the best boink you've ever had. You Googled how to prepare for this stuff, the butt stuff, the 3 ways. And you want to sit there and, you wanted to use me? Girl, you were enjoying being used.
Now we're going to listen to the redacted audio. For me, this part of the audio is very interesting. Okay. 1, what the dad says to Agent Kobach, and 2, that they took this out of the discovery. So let's take a listen.
Why?
Just
On the media
we'll
stuff,
work on that.
yeah, I think you've got a grip on that. On the media stuff, for you, I wouldn't talk to the media, just tell them you don't have any comment, and for you, probably the same. And if they just persist, maybe put somebody, things like your dad is your biggest confidant here, and maybe make a brief statement. If, my daughter doesn't want to say anything, have a nice day, whatever. Because if you appease them a little bit, sometimes they'll go away. That would just be my suggestion. Don't talk to them. You don't need to.
I'm not going to. I guess they're going to make their own assumptions.
But so does your neighbor, so does the guy
They talk, as soon as
stopped
they
at the
figure
red
out who
light.
you are, they're going to talk to your neighbor, and they're going to say, oh, yeah, I saw Chris, and her together, whatever. You know what's going to happen. Just prepare yourself, and then it won't be.
Are they going to swarm my house?
I don't think so.
No, they were swarming his. He told me there's media everywhere. It's just I hope that does not happen to me. I mean, I have
Haha, guess what happened?
a safe house in Denver that I can go to, that I have the keys to, that has nobody there.
Why would she need a safe house?
We're thinking for the next couple
all I have to do is check the mail, and there's no questions asked, and nobody knows where it is. And
Yeah, it's probably Jim's house.
I'm not telling anybody, but it's a really nice spot for me to hide out.
We know that Jim lives in Denver. Chris said that in his prison interview that the mistress told him she was going to stay at her friend Jim's place till it died down.
And I don't have any friends in that building. I mean, it's an apartment, but
and we will answer your phone call.
And then it's interesting, she called Jim's apartment her safe spot.
But the safe house is from.
And she was talking to him a lot. How much you want to bet they did the boinking? Yeah.
The safe house is the safe
People
house.
banging on her apartment door.
When should I go there? When do you think all this is going to start happening? I mean,
Okay, why does it sound right there that she has a smile on her face? Does she think this is an effing joke?
Safe house is from.
the safe house is the safe
People
house.
banging on her apartment door.
When should I go there? When do you think all this is going to start happening? I mean, it's kind of.
It might be just good for you to go there anyways for your sanity and stay away from this place that you had a connection to this man with, and get your thoughts in order.
It's so sad. That was my nest. That was such a warm little place.
That was your.
Now it's I haven't even slept in my bed. I've just been sleeping on the couch.
5 lives have been lost, and she has the nerve to complain about not being able to sleep at her own house. Wow.
Couch with the dog. I don't even want to do it.
What other questions can we answer before we go? I don't foresee talking to you again regarding this now, and attorney and go, hey, can you ask her another question? And that would be a long ways down the line. I don't think there's anything else. I let you talk for a long time today to get it all out, so we don't do this again, because I don't want to traumatize you again. But if there is important things that come up, please know that I do want to talk to you about those. Other things that we haven't talked about today, or if something I got to tell them, just call me.
I mean, some things I thought were really important. The other day, I didn't mention the wedding ring thing, and then I was like, that was really creepy. I should probably tell them about that.
And
And you got those cards. I gave you those cards.
So you gave me cards and there was clothing in there.
Yeah, I don't care what you do.
How much do I bet she took pictures of those cards, even though she gave it 2 of them? I guarantee she didn't.
With it all, I just don't
The
want
clothing, was any of the clothing anything he wore this weekend, or is it stuff that was from...
No. It was stuff that he brought over prior to that. Okay. None of that. Some of it's been washed and folded since then. I just wanted it out of my house and didn't want to throw it away. So.
Okay, so she says she deleted his text messages, even his phone number out of her phone because she found out Shanann was pregnant and she wanted nothing to
But she didn't throw away the cards. That's a bit suspicious.
do with him. She was so disgusted by him, she didn't want to see anything on her phone from him. So why would she keep his love letters and keep his clothes folded and washed instead of throwing that in the trash? Makes no sense.
Take care of it. We have it. We'll take care of that. If I have questions on the context of a text message, I might just call you and say, what the hell does this mean? Because I might not understand what you were talking about, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
If it's, I'm not going to bother you unless it's really important, because I think I have everything I need from you today.
Okay, yeah, we just wanted to make sure you guys had it so that
Well, and we don't, I
we can
don't
find the right person or something and get it done.
Yeah, and we know we have the right person, and I am sorry that you're involved.
Okay, I want you guys to listen to that part again. Nicole's dad tells Agent Kobach that he wants to make sure that they have the right person to get it done. Meaning he was going to hand over her phone, but make sure the right person is handling it. And then you have Agent Kobach responding, it sounds like he's messing with the the speaker in a way, or moving it away from him, and his Agent Kobach's voice goes a little lower to me. I don't know. It sounds kind of like, if I'm going to speculate right here, but it sounds like Agent Kobach doesn't want this on record, but he says, and we know,
like almost like he's trying to smother the sound kind of thing.
We have the right person. What does that even mean? And who's this right person they're trying to get the phone to? I don't know. This part of the interview just doesn't sound right to me. Keep in mind, too, this was also redacted from the discovery.
But why?
Make sure you guys had it so that
Well, and we don't, I don't
find the right person or something and get it done.
Yeah, and we know we have the right person, and I am sorry that you're involved. I am. It's never a good time to say anything like that, but it's a bad deal. This whole thing is, and this is one of the tougher cases that I think I've been doing this a long time. It's, you know, it's tough. So for you, it's even tougher. And don't forget to reach out to somebody for your sanity. Like I asked you downstairs a question, and you said no. You remember what question I asked you?
So that's where the audio ends. There is the rest of that interview in the
I was to say there is more, but this is the redacted
transcripts, and I'll do a read
But the thing is why did they want to remove it?
through of that when it talks about the question and all that stuff. I just didn't want to include that with this video because this one's already going so long. But that redacted video is courtesy of Plunder. She talks about it on her channel, and she posted a video. And I have never heard that audio before because it has been redacted since they released that second batch of Discovery. It's interesting that they redacted that part of the audio because usually take out information that is personal information like phone numbers, addresses, emails, stuff like that. But in this audio, you listen to it and you're wondering what was so private, or what is it that they didn't want us to hear. But comment below and let me know what you guys think. That's going to end this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you hit that like button. It's just a little free way you can show your love and support for my channel, and I will talk to you guys all soon. Bye.
I definitely enjoyed it. I definitely thought when I was listening to it, there were comments being made that I haven't heard, and so forth. So definitely really makes you mad that she's just like, she's laughing about it. She's thinking she's got away with it, and her life is not going to be destroyed because Chris has confessed. She just thinks she's done and over with, and nobody's going to get her, and she's going to go on and live her life after she pretty much destroyed a family. May not be physical, maybe not at all, but we need to be given the choice or be given the opportunity to find out if she is innocent or guilty. And that's why this case continuously is probably the number one. Like I've started doing other cases as well, just dipping my toes into certain ones, and it doesn't do as much. It's because of NK. NK is like the main problem of why this case continuously goes. But anything that you heard in here, please let me know what your thoughts are. If you want me to listen to something exactly, timestamp it, because then I know exactly where you're talking about. Because some people were like, well, I don't agree with this spot, and this spot. But I'm like, for me, I'm like, which part was that? Timestamp it. It definitely helps out very much. I thank you guys for being here. Please take care. Be safe as always, and keep nerding on, and we will see you guys in the next video.